Hey, what's up, gamers? Me, Hood the Gamer, and welcome back to another Seduce Me live stream. I know I haven't done one in like a year or two now, but hey, I'm doing this finally, and yeah, it's Seduce Me 2 this time. I technically already finished kind of the main part and the premise of the first game. Not the complete story, but at least finished like what I could for the free access, so yeah. I know I also didn't do a stream earlier today, or streams. It's because I was hanging out with friends, but now I'm doing this stream just dedicated for my friends. So nothing too worried about. But anyways, instead of me blabbling on, let's get started. And I guess real quick, we'll open up. And we'll open up the stream so I can see who's talking. I also might change up who I might go with during this one because my friend told me that it's different compared to the first game. One's harder than the other, so I might just go for the second person I was most likely to pick, at least for me. So let's get started. Empty slot. Oh, I do. How do I do this? Tutorial. Is this even the right game?
Hi, how you gotten here? I will never know, but hey!
Okay, that's bonus. Is this a tutorial?
Must I do this?
Come on! You have to be the one to set the example! You're the goddess of the rebellion, the matron—
And that is why I must give a tutorial?
Hold up. I think I picked the wrong game. Give me 1 second. I guess I didn't pick the, so I guess let's do the tutorial.
Must I do this?
Come on! You have to be the one to set the example! You're the goddess of the rebellion, the matriarch of the new demon world, the savior of demonkind!
And that is why I must give a tutorial? It should be simple enough to understand. It's an interactive story with minimal controls.
You gotta let people know how to read your story correctly so they can play the visual novel without accidentally screwing up. It's so important that they know all the things that they can do.
My lady, it would help in our cause if the players knew what to do.
Very well. The basic controls come from your computer, keyboard, or mouse. There are multiple ways to go through the story using one or the other, or even both if you desire as much. If you use your mouse to left-click the screen, or press the Enter or Space keys, you will proceed forward in the story. It is important that you pay attention to what is being said, because you may be forced to remember something in the future. However, if you've seen narration or dialogue before, you may hold down the Control key to skip forward. If you don't care to hold down a button, you can press the tab key to toggle the skip function. Doing so will fast forward you through the section until you press the tab key again or reach an unread section of the story, where the function shuts off automatically. If you can't be bothered with the keyboard, there's also a skip button you can click on near the dialog box, alongside buttons where you can save or load your progress, set the story on auto mode, go to the options menu, or simply go back to the main menu. If you proceed far enough, you may be faced with a story-changing choice. Remember, every choice you make affects this war, and war is unforgiving. Now, you may decide your choices with the mouse by hovering over your answer with your mouse pointer and left-clicking it, or you may select your choice by using the arrow keys and confirming your choice by pressing the enter key. Use this wisely. You will not be able to change your answer later. If you have a scroll wheel on your mouse, you can roll past sections you have already read by rolling the wheel backwards until you reach new unread text. You may also roll back up to 10 sections in case you miss something by rolling forward. But be warned, your choices cannot be altered.
Isn't that a bit unfair, my lady?
As I said, war is unforgiving. We can't fix our mistakes by going back in time. We can only remember the choices we made and what the consequences were.
As you say.
Well, if the player saves right before they make a choice, they can just reload their save and make another choice.
Did you say something?
No, nothing at all.
I like her.
If for some reason you wish to capture a moment on screen without the text box showing, you can press the H key, then press the S key to take a screenshot, which will be saved in the game folder. Don't worry though. You can continue the story and show the text box again by repressing the H key. The right-click function on your mouse and the escape key both bring you to the save menu. Use this wisely. You will be asked if it is okay to overwrite a save if you choose to save over old progress. I believe that is everything of significance. Is there anything that I have missed?
I think that should be everything. Awesome!
May we leave now? We do have a war to fight, and I need to lead my armies to victory.
Go, go, go! Win your war! Score the goal! Win the points!
War doesn't work like that.
Come, we're leaving.
Yes, my lady.
Hopefully, this war doesn't end tragically. Then again, I guess that's up to you, right?
Is it extras? Wow, it really does not want me to... Like, there's the save and stuff. Oh, right, I have to choose the color. I did the tutorial for nothing. Okay, if I remember correctly, James, Matthew, Sam, Damien, Eric, and then finally Diana. Or Diane. Alright, the moment you all been waiting for, the one I will choose mostly for this particular one. For this run playthrough alone, I will go into
Hold on there! Before you start the game, I need to ask you a few things. Don't want you getting lost now. First of all, have you read the first story, Seduce Me the Otome? Like, seriously read it. No skimming, no pretending to read it. No. It's okay if you haven't, but there are a lot of things in this game that you won't understand unless you fully experienced and understood that story first.
I basically got the premise of it.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Next question. You do know this is Sam's route, right? The brute middle brother? The asshat who stole your first kiss when you first met the guys?
Yep, I know.
Oh, awesome! All
He's my
right then.
second choice.
I mean, I like Sam's story the best, but that's because he goes through a lot and goes through even more in this story. Anyway, I have one last question for you. Some people like hearing the trigger warnings before they start games, while others don't really care and just want to play. It's cool either way, but do you want to know about some of the content listed in the game? No problem. It's my pleasure. Well, this game is recommended for players ages 18 and up. Trigger warnings include suicide, war, torture, mentions of rape, and a large amount of violence and sexual content.
Oh my god.
Don't worry though. Any sex scene choice you encounter is completely up to you. You can play this game without needing to go through the sex scenes and still get the good endings. Consent is important.
Okay, is this supposed to be a sparrow? Because I feel like this is a legit a sparrow. I mean, like, you could skip it, you know?
I think that should be everything. All right. Phew, that took a while.
You forgot something.
Huh? What did I forget?
You forgot about the disclaimer.
Oh, crap! Oh, how could I have forgotten about that?
It's fine, I'll take care of it. This game was produced by Michaela Laws using the Ren'Py visual novel engine. We truly hope you enjoy this story.
Thanks, Diana. Now, don't you have a war to go fight?
I do. I just wanted to make sure everything was in order before the story began. I'll take my leave now.
Thanks, Di.
Do not call me Di!
Anyway, we really do hope you like the story. Have fun! See you at the end.
Is this wise?
What other choice do we have?
We have plenty of choices. Why be impatient about this?
The Demon Lord is vulnerable now. We can't wait any longer.
Striking quickly is not always the best option. We must regroup and charge at full force.
For once, I agree with Snake.
But what if he does the same? We have the advantage. We have the terrain on our side. We can win this war here and now.
We may have the terrain on our side, but we don't have the strength to fight a second battle without rest.
Going now is suicide.
My lady, you've been silent this whole time. How should we proceed? We don't have the strength to finish the battle, but the Demon Lord is weak. This may be the only chance to strike him down.
We'll push them back. He's weak, so we can easily force his hand and make him retreat. Once we corner him against the decaying sea, we'll strike and finish him off.
Sam, you're being extremely frugal about this. A wedding is supposed to be a grand occasion.
I agree. We have the funds to make this wedding a large event.
Dude, I can make you a giant cake, and we can have a big buffet, and streamers, and a DJ, and...
Sam, calm down.
Planning a wedding was like strategizing for a war. Ruthless, quick, and everything had to be precisely organized for success. It was both intriguing and terrifying to think about. Oh wait, can you not hear me? No, you can hear me. Okay. Game over. Yeah, I lost the game before it even started. So, the person I chose is... Do-do-do! Oh. Give me 1 second then. Let me go to options and fix that then. Actually, no, voice acting has to stay up all the way. Load and boop. Okay, how about now? Can you hear me better? Planning a wedding was like strategizing for a war. Ruthless, quick, and everything had to be precisely organized for success. It was both intriguing and terrifying to think about. Yet again, I'm gonna go turn this down. Okay, there's like no music now. However, it was my wedding, so it had to be done. Sam and I were getting married, and his brothers had become our assistant wedding planners. Sam was happy that his brothers were going to assist, but I could tell that their constant suggestions were grating on his nerves. Okay, fine. Yes. Fine. We were sitting around the dining room, poring over a large scramble of papers that were covered in names, costs, and other bits of information that we needed to know. Each number and letter was important and needed to be checked again and again with each decision we made. There were so many names on the table, I had barely seen mine. Luckily, however, our sample cards and party favors had Sam's name and mine on them. I looked over at Sam, knowing that he was getting frustrated. It was obvious by the look on Sam's face that he was very much annoyed by the entire situation.
I don't want a big wedding. I just want to get married.
Then why not just go to the courthouse and get your marriage license?
Because this is important, okay?
Sam looked at me, and my heart skipped a beat. His eyes bore into mine, and I could see the deep love he had for me in his emerald irises? I don't know.
This is a big deal for me. For us. I do really want a wedding, but just not a big one. All right?
It was almost as if he was asking me, pleading for my permission to have the wedding size he wished for. I was really sure myself if I wanted a big or small wedding. I was still curious on how we were going to get this all done. James crossed his arms as Eric rubbed his forehead in defeat. Damien and Matthew, however, looked at their older brother with a new gaze of respect and idolizing awe.
If that is what you want, then that is what we will arrange.
This wedding will be amazing, no matter how big or small it is.
Why don't we ask the bride what she wants then? She may want a large wedding.
All five boys looked at me, and I suddenly felt cornered. I wasn't sure. Small wedding. I had to agree with Sam. I didn't want to make this spectacle. This wedding was important to Sam and me. That was all that mattered. I would like to keep our wedding small too. It's our wedding, so it doesn't need to be a big extravaganza. Sam looked at me and smiled, causing me to smile back. It was our day, so we had to celebrate it our way. As the brothers took a moment to look over more notes, Sam kissed my cheek softly, surprising me. Oh. I glared at Sam as he smirked a playful grin at me before turning back to the table of papers and looking through them with his brothers. I giggled to myself and gently held the cheek he kissed. I was glad to make him happy. James pushed his glasses further up his nose and put together a stack of papers, gazing at the content on the front page.
Well, everything that you both listed should be possible for the wedding. I can call up the venues for the ceremony and reception. Eric, can you organize the decorations?
As the boys began to divide up the work, before I was able to step in, my phone began to ring. The screen showed Naomi's face, and I stood from my seat. I'll be right back. I gotta take this.
Huh? Whoa, yeah, okay.
I quickly kissed Sam's cheek before rushing out of the dining room and into the lobby to answer the phone. Hello?
Hey, how's everything going?
Huh? Oh, hey, Naomi. Everything's going well. We're going through the details now.
That's good. Seriously, Naomi, you're hogging the phone.
Suzu? My jaw dropped at the sound of Suzu's voice. Suzu was supposed to be in Italy and wasn't going to make the wedding. Why was she with Naomi?
Surprise! I was hogging the phone to keep Suzu being here a surprise, but I guess she's too impatient to wait. Fuck waiting. I want to talk to her too.
When did you get in?
Literally 2 hours ago. We wanted to come visit, but we figured you'd be too busy, so we just called instead. We're so happy for you. Suzu had to come back for the wedding.
I felt like crying. Naomi and Suzu were my best friends, and I was so glad to have them. Naomi was following her dreams to become a chef, while Suzu spent a lot of time... Oh, crap. Spent a lot of time with her family, so I felt very special to have time to even talk to them. I sat on the stairs and chatted with them, catching up on their lives. Suzu's family was still in Italy, visiting family and traveling to the country for a couple of months. But Suzu managed to fly back not only to attend my wedding, but also to manage her family's casino. Naomi, on the other hand, had been hard at working, both as a summa cum laude of her culinary school and being a paid intern at the Pink Lady Cafe K. Cafe K. Often out of town, gave Lily a manager position while Naomi manned the cashier and baking duties. It was really nice to hear how their lives had changed over the past 2 years. Mine, however, had barely changed with the expectations of upcoming marriage. I was going to college for a degree I wanted, and I was halfway to my bachelor's degree. However, my classes weren't hard, and they were very lenient towards me because I was a Harold Anderson's granddaughter. Part of me was frustrated at the special treatment I received, while the other part of me was flattered. Sam, however, went into the police force with the help of his incubi magic. He was able to don a badge and serve the community well. Everyone knew him and loved him for his hard work, despite his boss being jealous of him at times. I never understood why he joined the force, but I was very happy to know that he felt the need to help people like I did.
So, are you ready to get married?
It's a lot to take in, I will admit.
Aha! You're dancing around the question.
Huh? No, I'm not.
Suzu, stop teasing. She's probably just flustered from the work she has to do.
As Naomi and Suzu began to bicker on the other end of the phone, I began to mull over my life. I was 20, turning 21 soon, and I was about to be married. 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 Was I going too fast? My mind began to picture Sam and how happy he was when he proposed to me, and when I said yes, my heart fluttered at the image and I couldn't help but smile. I made the right choice. As I thought of Sam, I couldn't help but let memories of our relationship dance around in my mind. He was sweet and loving, but at the same time, he was hard-working, protective, and proud to be mine. He proved his love for me every time he held me and kissed me.
I bet you two already had sex, though, so there won't be that awkward virgin honeymoon, huh?
Hello? I nearly dropped my phone. I could hear Suzu goofing at me from the other end, but I was too focused on what she said. Sure, let's go with that. I remember the night we first made love. Sam was gentle, but the passion between us had been heated and heavy, adding to our love for each other. A small shiver ran up my spine at the memory. We made love multiple times after that, when we needed each other or when we wanted to express our love for each other with our bodies. Making love was truly another way we showed our deep passion for each other.
Hell yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Don't worry, girl. You're not the only one who no longer has her virginity. What? You too? Am I the only one who still hasn't had sex yet? It's not like sex is mandatory, Naomi. Calm down.
I couldn't help but chuckle a bit. We were so different, but we truly loved each other and were close enough to talk about anything.
But hey, we gotta let you go, okay? We haven't eaten and it's almost 9 p.m.
Jeez, go get some food. We can chat tomorrow or something.
You got it, Chica. We'll call you whenever we're free, even if it's not tomorrow. For now, food! Alright, we'll talk to you later.
Yeah, call you guys soon. We hung up simultaneously, and I looked down at my phone with a smile. It was good to hear from them at last. However, as I made my way back towards the dining room, I stopped.
I want to do it.
You cannot be serious.
I quickly hugged the wall and emptied my thoughts so Damien wouldn't hear them. I listened intently, thinking about Naomi and Suzu as I let my ears capture what I wanted to discover. I had learned so many tricks on how to avoid Damien. It was now easy to fool him.
A demon marriage? In the human world? How do you expect to pull this off?
I don't know. I just want to marry her. Both like a human for her and like a demon for me.
I mean, it's a nice idea, but you need a lot, and I mean a lot, of things we can't get here in the human world.
Sam wants to visit the demon black market to find the things he needs.
Sam! Are you that idiotic?
Gee, thanks, Damien.
The black market? Really? You'd go that far?
It's my goddamn choice.
A choice that will make you an even bigger target for angels. What the hell are you thinking?
My mind continued to focus on my friends, but my heart became heavy and frightened. Sam wanted things he'd have to get back at the black market. I didn't even realize there was a demon black market. I felt majorly confused, but I let the emotions simply rumble in my chest instead of in my mind.
Look, I know you want to do this with her, but can't you at least think about this? What if you can't find all of the materials needed for it?
Even more so, what if she doesn't want to do it? She is human after all. Did you even ask her?
Well, I was...
Oh, for the love of God.
Sam, come on! I know you're a meathead, but you're not this dumb. Why haven't you asked her?
I just want to bind my soul to her, alright? You know, like the fucking demon I actually am!
My thoughts went blank. For a moment, I had forgotten that he was, in fact, a demon. But bind his soul to me? What did he mean?
Yes, you are a demon, but you're in the human world now. Marriage doesn't work like that here.
Sam, why are you having doubts?
My entire body froze. What? He was having doubts? Why? I suppressed the surprise in my mind, still remembering that I was eavesdropping, but I was starting to feel upset.
I'm not having doubts. I want to do this. You
just what? You want to return to the demon world? You want to marry her in the abyssal plains instead of here?
And if I did? So what if I do? I can get us there, and we'd be able to do the ceremony, and then we'd come back!
You may want to go back, but she would become a target for demons to kill for sport. She'd die before you even returned. Did you even think about that? Huh?
A large silence followed. I became lost and nervous. Why was Sam so obsessed about this issue?
James, calm down. Yelling at him solves nothing.
Sam, we all know you really want to do this. We're just trying to show you the facts before you do something stupid.
I couldn't stand it any longer. It was not a good time to bring it up, so I needed to clear the air of the situation. Eventually, I could talk to Sam about it, but not now. I mentally signaled that I was ending the call and thinking about rejoining the room, knowing Damien would hear my thoughts.
She's coming back.
I turned the corner and looked at the five. Seeing them obviously divided, Sam was on this one side, both hands on the table as he stared down at it in defeat. The other four were on the opposite side looking at me. Hey, what happened?
Nothing. We just had a bit of a... Fuck this, I'm done.
Sam pushed away from the table and began to walk towards me. I watched as he passed me and climbed the stairs, obviously beyond angry. Sam.
Miss, wait.
I turned back to see the four incubi brothers, incubus brothers, with worried looks on their faces. I wanted to go to Sam, but I knew that he needed to calm down, so I stayed. What is it?
Well, this is very hard to ask.
If Sam wanted to do something very, very specific and hard to accomplish, and if you wanted to, do that with you, would you?
Basically, would you allow Sam to do something that makes him happy but risks his life?
I couldn't help thinking about the conversation they had, which
You heard everything.
You did?
I closed my eyes. There was no use in denying it. But was it something I needed to talk about them or with them? I knew I'd have to talk about it with Sam, but with his brothers. Fuck. Okay, the outcome. If I discuss it with them, they'll be like, oh, don't do it and stuff like that. He won't like it. Or if I talk about it, oh my god, this is so hard. You know what? No, I'm not gonna get help from my friend. I'm so scared. Oh my gosh. Oh, hi. I've arrived. What's happening? Twins of here. It's the question thing where they're like, "Oh, you heard what we said about the wedding and all that stuff." Now I'm just like, but I'll do it. You know what? Let me think in my head first. Okay, avoid. They'll be like, "Hey, hold on. We can talk about this." Actually, if I talked, no, I think. Okay, so if I avoid it, I could possibly have a chance to talk to Sam first, which I think is the better bet. But if I talk to them, they could be like trying to make it where I shouldn't go, talk to him about it, and not do it at all. Screw it, we're avoiding it. I shook my head. This was a private matter. I did, and I will discuss this with Sam on my own. The other boys nodded, understanding my stand on the subject. I needed to figure this out with Sam, not with them. I know I'm overthinking this so much. I sighed and looked at the boys, seeing them starting to clean the table and clear the papers off. I had to assume that the planning was done for the night. I guess we'll discuss more another time.
It'll have to wait until the weekend. Much is happening this week, so I won't be available.
Same here. I have to train a couple of interns so they know how to properly fit customers with a suit.
Give me 1 second. I know, I can't wait to see myself fail, even though this is literally my first time playing this game, so... And it's been like 1.5 years to 2 years since I played the first game, so...
This weekend is perfectly fine, right?
Yeah, that sounds good. I helped pile the papers in a proper stack on the table, making them ready for the next time they were to be viewed. Before I escorted the boys out, Sam remained wherever he was, and I didn't see his brothers off. After I closed the doors, however, Sam appeared at the balcony above the lobby and began to descend the staircase.
Are they gone?
Yeah, they'll be back this weekend. Sam sighed and ran his hand through his hair, letting his shoulders slouch forward.
This is ridiculous. Is wedding prep really this complicated?
I could only nod before walking over and meeting him as he reached the bottom step. As he stepped off of it, I wrapped my arms around him and nuzzled his forehead, making him look into my eyes. It'll be worth it in the end when we're married. Sam smiled and wrapped his arms around my waist, nuzzling my forehead. I felt the deep love in his embrace, wanting to protect me from the world and all the dangers within it. He had protected me so many times with those arms that were wrapped around me.
If I get to be with you forever, then I guess it's worth the work, you doofus.
Oh god, I hope I don't make those choices, because that's bad on YouTube. As long as you'll have me, I'll be with you forever. With a loving gaze, Sam lifted a hand from my waist and cupped my cheek, and I nuzzled into the warmth of his palm and let out a loving sigh. Gosh, how many times are you going to keep doing this? Okay, Sam's are easy to avoid. Okay, Damien's are not. Why is Damien's the hard one to avoid? Like, what?
Hey, can we go somewhere tomorrow?
Huh? I'm sure, I guess. Where do you want to go? He's a silly guy that can read minds, so what? Thoughts of him going into the black market crossed my mind, making me slightly worried as to where he wanted to go. Sam, however, looked at his feet.
Well, we already asked your folks and stuff about me marrying you, but there's one person I have to ask permission from.
Who?
Your grandfather.
I was shocked. He wanted to go to my grandfather's grave. Damien had explained that it had been my grandfather who had brought them over from the demon world, but I still was getting used to the idea. Sam continued to explain as I wrapped my head around the question.
I know I sound a little dumb, but he was kind of important to me and my brothers. He's the one who brought us here after all. It's only respectful if, I guess, I kinda ask for his blessing. I mean, it's dumb and we don't have to, but...
No, we can, definitely. Tomorrow around noon, then. Sam stared in shock before he nodded with a smile.
All right.
The thought of us going to visit grandfather's grave somehow made me feel happy instead of sad. We had both visited him before, but we weren't engaged then, and something felt special about this visit. Maybe it was because Sam was doing things right before marrying me. Who knew? We went to bed that night, settled in our plans for the following day as morning arrived. We got dressed and were out of the house by the time the clock struck noon. It was a bright day and no one else was visiting, so Sam and I were alone in the cemetery. It was a little unnerving, but at the same time, it was nice to be able to spend time at grandfather's grave alone with Sam. I would visit alone eventually, but for now, Sam took control of our visit. Sam sat down in front of the grave, crossing his legs, and stared at the stone slab. That was my grandfather's gravestone. I followed suit, sitting beside him and placing a bouquet of colorful flowers beside the grave.
No matter how many times we come here, it's still so odd. I remember when we met almost like it was yesterday.
Yeah, it's still strange. We both sat in comfortable silence, looking at the grave. It was strange remembering that 2 years ago, I had met Sam and his brothers literally the day after my grandfather had died. Now I was getting married to Sam. It was surreal, to say the very least. Sam strained his back and cleared his throat, causing me to look back at him in confusion.
So, Mr. Anderson, I hope that you're around to hear us and stuff. Your spirit, I mean. I'm fucking this up already.
What? I was confused. Why was he asking if my grandfather was there? He was buried under the earth, and his spirit was probably in the afterlife. Sam took another breath.
I must sound like a complete jackass. You've given my brothers a chance to start new lives, and I can't ever thank you enough. Now, I'm asking for your granddaughter's hand. I must seem like a brat, huh?
I could only watch as Sam ran his hand through his messy hair, obviously deep in thought and formulating his words carefully before speaking. He didn't even want to mess up. I could tell by the look on his face.
You've given us so much already. I want to be able to not only pay you back for giving my brothers better lives, but I want to be with your granddaughter for the rest of my life. As a demon, and as her husband. I promise to take care of her and love her for the rest of my life. I want to be with her and provide her with the life she deserves. I may be a demon, but I love her, and will do anything to protect her and keep her happy. Please, if you're here, I humbly ask for your blessing to marry your granddaughter.
My heart was overwhelmed by the emotional speech Sam made. Tears were forming in my eyes from the love he was expressing for me. I held my hands over my chest, unable to stop the pounding of my heart. Sam truly loved me. As I stared at Sam, a gentle wind passed through the air and brushed over Sam's and my skin. It was out of place. The sun was out, and I hadn't felt any breeze at all until just then. Huh? Grandfather? Another small breeze brushed over us, making me and Sam smile at the sensation. The wind was my grandfather's answering, and it was gentle enough to let us know that he was happy to see where we were and what we were planning to do. Sam let out the breath he was holding in, now that he knew that my grandfather approved.
I won't let you down.
I couldn't help a wide smile growing on my face. I was beyond overjoyed at the situation. If grandfather really was there, I was happy to know that he approved of us. We went home that day feeling confident and ready for whatever the future held for us. We had gained the blessing of my grandfather, and I was certain that however we went about this marriage, we were going to care and love each other for the rest of our lives. Just thinking about Sam being with me forever made my heart jump in joy. I was really that excited to be married to him. My heart thought so, despite him being a demon. Still, the demon ritual remained in the back of my mind, softly prodding my thoughts as we returned home and worked on more wedding arrangements. I looked at Sam, now curious enough to bring up. The question was, would I? Yes. It was bothering me. I wanted to know what was on Sam's mind, and I needed to hear his thoughts about it. I looked at Sam as he pored over a guest list. He was proficient with reading now, constantly learning in the past 2 years we had been together, so he was flying through his work with ease. Still, I needed to break the silence. Sam, can I ask you something? Sam looked up from his work and sat up straight, rolling back his shoulders.
Yeah, sure, what's up?
Promise you won't be mad? Sam furrowed his eyebrows, and now concerned with that, I wanted to ask, but I bit my lower lip, but he nodded, crossing his arms and leaning back against his chair.
Go ahead.
If I was nervous before, I was even more nervous now. Well, you see, I looked down at the table, hoping that the wooden surface would help me to find some way to form my thoughts. Once I was able to form my thoughts into words, I looked back up at Sam. Why is having a demon marriage so important to you? Sam stared in shock at me. I knew I had thrown him off, but I needed to say it. I wanted him to explain and for us to discuss it. If it was something Sam wanted, I really wished to help him and possibly achieve it with him. If it was possible, I still wanted to know and at least try regardless, all for him. Sam sighed and looked down at his crossed arms. Was it seriously that big of a deal that he felt shame of it?
Who told you about it?
I overheard you and your brothers arguing about it yesterday. I began to worry. Did I make him mad? Would he be furious at me for bringing it up? I watched as he ran both of his hands through his hair and let out as a sigh.
Well, we're having a human marriage and stuff, and, well, I guess that
Sam bit his lip, shutting his eyes, and as he collected his thoughts, I waited patiently, wanting to know exactly what he felt. He then looked up at me with a sad, almost heartbroken look in his eyes.
I guess I just miss being a demon.
But Sam, you are a demon.
That's not what I meant. I mean, yeah, I'm a demon, but am I really at this point? I work for a human police force. I live in the human world, I barely ever use my power, so it's like I'm not even a demon anymore.
Sam looked down at his lap and closed his eyes, slumping his shoulders in almost pathetic guilt.
So I wanted to eventually ask you when the time was right to marry you demon style. Basically, I'd bind my soul to yours, and yours to mine. That way, I'll always know when you're okay, and you'd be able to tell if I was too.
But what about preparing the spell? Surely you have to arrange it somehow with the spell components and whatever else. I can only imagine what soul binding requires.
That I hadn't gotten around to yet. I didn't want to do anything until I knew I could do it, but lately, I've found out that it's impossible.
I couldn't help but feel my lips droop into a frown. Sam seemed really bummed about not being able to pull off the ritual. It was a big deal, or so Sam emotionally suggested. Sam ruffled his own hair with his fingers, slightly growling under his breath. Despite not looking at me, I could tell that he was angry with the situation.
The one chance I have to feel like how I really am, and I can't even do it.
I'm sorry. I felt terrible for bringing it up. Sam, however, shook his head and looked at me.
Look, don't worry about it and forget you ever heard anything, okay? We'll get married like normal, and we'll spend the rest of our lives together. We don't need a spell for that.
I knew Sam was just trying to avoid talking about it further, so I nodded and agreed. Okay, Sam. Sam nodded before going back to work, as did I. We had so much to do in a small amount of time. We worked the entire afternoon trying to arrange as much as we could before the passing of time hit us like a wave. Dinner was extremely easy, but our focus was solely on the work at hand. The more work we could accomplish, the less stress we'd have to worry about later. Looking at Sam, I could tell he was exhausted. He had his head in his hands, trying to stay awake as he read over his notes and paperwork. I'm sure for the 5th or 6th time, I was fairly certain he was tired of reading. He always worked so hard and never failed to try and make everything we did the best moment of our lives. He deserves so much, and yet he fell in love with me, a simple human. I had no way to repay him except for loving him back and giving him everything I could. Though, there was one thing. My mind traveled to a small bachelorette gift Suzu and Naomi had sent me when they first heard the news. I was lingering. It was lingerie. Oh, lingerie. Whoops! I had misread that. To be used during our honeymoon. So it was simply sitting, folded up neatly in a box under the bed. I looked at Sam again, my libido giving me the idea of possibly surprising him and making his night. Another part of me, or my brain, told me not to bother with it. That gift was for the honeymoon, so it would be preserved as much. But it was a gift, and it was given to me, so I could essentially do what I want with it. My libido fought with my logic over the subject as I slightly fawned at the idea of making hot love to Sam or saving the rough night for the honeymoon. Was I going to do it, though? So, is this going to be that kind of scene, Aspera? Please tell me yes. If so, I won't do it. Unless it affects the story, then I will do it. This one you gotta tell me at least. Is it going to be that kind of scene or no? Can I just like skip it, or do I have to do this, or are you going to just be like, do whatever you want? If it actually is that kind of scene, please tell me so I can actually blur it out if I do wind up pressing do it. If you're here, please Please tell me you're here. Don't tell me I'm alone and not talking to the right person. I see there's a second viewer. You know what? I'm gonna go check. Give me a second. I'm going to give it like one more minute. Do 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 do. Oh, I'm gonna do it if they don't respond. They respond right as I said that. Okay. Hold on. So it's not them that's watching. Or is it them and they're just like, hold on, I'm rechecking. Okay. We are doing it. The more I looked at Sam, the more my inner desire began to burn and light my core on fire. Maybe it was because of his incubus aura, or maybe it was because I was loved, or I loved him that much. It didn't matter. I had to get to the room first and change before Sam came in. If this was going to work, then it needed to be a surprise. I let out a small yawn and stood up, breaking Sam out of his concentration. Hey, I'm going to go get ready for bed. Mind cleaning everything up for me?
Sure.
I knew that his exhaustion was hold him back from using his power for a speed boost, so I had a little while to change and surprise him. I smiled and walked over and kissed his cheek before walking out of the dining room. As I reached the lobby, I began to hustle up the stairs and into the bedroom. I needed all the time I could get. I quickly stripped out of my clothes and opened the box and Suzu and Naomi had sent me. Seeing an emerald green and black bra with matching panties, Jesus. It looked incredibly sexy, and I couldn't wait to see Sam's face when he saw me in it. I'm probably gonna have to blur this out, guys. Sorry. I am actually sorry. I'm not gonna say I'm not sorry. As I thought of Sam, I couldn't help but I feel a shiver run up my spine. His touches and his love were intoxicating. This was the least I could do for him. His scent was intoxicating, and his eyes were endless traps for me to get lost in. His arms were my castle, and his heart was my timekeeper. He alone made my world perfect, and I could no longer imagine my life without him. I heard Sam's heavy, tired steps as they hit the stairs, forcing me to rush while I hid the box, hid my clothes, and grabbed my black robe to cover myself. As he opened the door, I turned to face the window.
Hey, you ready for?
Sam stopped as the music, no. I was certain that me facing away from him in the black robe surprised him into silence, so I looked over my shoulder at him. I needed to seduce him like he seduced me, so I needed to release my inner temptress. Jesus. I slowly turned around, carefully formulating what I wanted to do for him, and looked deep into his eyes despite the distance between us. Sit down. Mesmerized, Sam slowly made his way towards the bed, not breaking the gaze between us, and sat down in silence. Was he going to be obedient? Jeez, I should not be saying any of this, probably. I moved to the fireplace, knowing that it only took a couple of clicks to turn on music through my TV. If Lady Luck was on my side, the tune that began to play from it was slow, sensual score. Oh no. Man, this is... I looked at Sam as I slowly let the robe slide down and off my body, revealing what was underneath it. Sam's eyes instantly dilated at the sight, and his chest heaved in both surprise and desire. I channeled every ounce of sexuality I had in my body as I slid the rope away from me with my foot and ran my hands up my sides. Sam, you've done so much for me.
Yeah?
Oh my gosh. I want to show you how much I care for you, and I want to thank you. Sam stared as I began to sway my hips to beat at the song floating through the air. Sam's eyes traveled up and down my body as I ran my hands through my hair, before bringing them down my shoulders and over my not saying that. How was I able to do this with a straight face? I would never be able to figure it out, but I went with it, walking to Sam and leaning forward a bit to hover my lips over his. As Sam leaned in to kiss me, I pulled back a bit and held a finger over his lips. You can't touch me until I say so. That includes kissing me. The hell? Jesus, girl. I could tell that every nerve in Sam's body and mine was firing just from looking into his lust-filled eyes. He was drowning in need, wanting to ravish me simply from what I had already done. How much farther could I push him? I want to find out. Sam obeyed, keeping his eyes by his sides on the bed, and biting his lower lip to maintain some control of himself. It was actually rather refreshing to see him like this. I wouldn't make him wait long, however. I leaned back towards him, hovering my lips over his as he stared deep into my eyes. He wanted to kiss me, however, he remained still for me, perfect. My hands began to reach for him and slowly began to remove the Letterman jacket and undershirt from his body. His glistening skin and minimal light in the room had me licking my lips at the sight. He really was handsome. Even more than that, he was all mine. Only I was allowed to do this to him. To touch him, to kiss him, to make love to him. I was forever happy and grateful and wanted to show him just how much he meant to me. I stepped back, my eyes tracing his form before running my hands over my body, over the lingerie that I'm pretty sure he wanted to tear off of me, and slowly dancing to the music. The sway of my hips and the way my fingers traced over my skin made him release some form of growl or desire-filled sigh. This show was for him, and soon he'd be able to ravish all he wanted. As soon as I brought him to the brink of his control, as much as I wanted to dominate here, it was amazingly sexy to see him lose control and let him feel his rough and strong passion. I would drive him to that point with each hip sway and each trail my fingers created over my body. Knowing that I needed to prod him a bit further, I slowly walked over to him, standing directly in front of him. However, as I turned my back to him, I could feel his growl against my back, making me repress a shiver. The beast was slowly coming out. I swayed my hips even more, bending slightly to have my rear dance over his legs, actually sitting down on it. I had never really imagined I would give someone, let alone him, a lap dance. Oh god. His heavy breath against my back let me know that it was working to help build his desire. I smirked before rolling his hips in a circle, purposely making my that word ever so slightly brush over his girl. I don't know what you're saying in your head, but damn. I was rewarded with a growl, which made my smirk widen. Almost there. I continued to roll my hips in circles, straddling his lap while my back hovered barely an inch from Sam's chest. I slowly felt myself becoming hot at the dance, needing him to touch me and ravish me already. However, the goal was to make him break, not for me to command him to. I quickly turned around, straddling his lap and pressing my knees down onto the mattress as I met Sam's gaze. His eyes were shifting back and forth between gold and green, just a little more. I placed my hands on Sam's shoulders before rolling my hips forward. I'm skipping that entire dialogue. Sam, do you want me? Sam couldn't even speak a word. He was very quietly growling through his teeth, irritated that he couldn't touch me upon my demand. However, his eyes spoke volumes of his lust for me. The final breaking point. Finally pushed forward his lips in mine, kissing him deeply. My core was on fire and I needed him to break. She bit his lip, damn. Knowing that, while it would show my power over him, it would very quickly be overturned. Okay, I'm going to just not continue with that. I'll let you guys, just hear everything. I'm just gonna read it to myself. Damn, maybe I should have skipped these scenes. Well, I'll find out if my channel gets demonetized or not.
Don't move. I'm not gonna hold back tonight.
Oh my god. Yeah, I'm glad I blurred this part out. Oh my god. I'm not gonna say any of these lines.
Maybe I really am a brute.
God, this picture.
I love you. I love you so much, you doofus.
You think you can stop me, boy?
Oh, here we go. Now we can actually go back to the normal game. Oh, wait, hold up. As I blinked, the dark around me shifted into a burning room. Flames touched every inch I could see, and in the midst of it all were Sam and his father, the Demon Lord. They were both wounded, but both were standing tall, confident as ever. Sam stood between me and the Demon Lord, protecting me from him. Still, I felt fear seep into my soul as I looked at the evil Demon Lord, smirking at both me and Sam.
I will kill you, old man! I want to see you try. You don't even have the strength to save your precious human!
What? Before I could figure out what he meant, I felt an immense pain in my chest as something ripped through my chest and stabbed through me. Sam turned towards me, horrified at what he saw, and I looked down to see a blade sticking out of my sternum. I couldn't even emit a whimper of pain as endless agony surged through my body, wrecking my nerves and distorting my vision. I could barely make out Sam arching back to scream at the sky, large flame-like wings erupting from his back. However, I felt my body give into the pain and my vision turned black. I felt waves of agony crash into my body over and over as I remained on the edge of death. When I was finally able to open my eyes, I could barely make out Sam kneeling over me, resting my head on his knees as tears ran down his face.
No. This can't be happening. No!
From the look on his face, I really was dying. How could this be? Why was this happening? His hands quaked in disbelief as he ran one along my cheek and used the other to hold my shoulders. I stared up at him, gasping for air as blood seeped over my skin. I was dying. I felt it. I knew it. Sam wept, but continued to stare down at me, trying to keep me awake and alive with his touch. However, I felt that I wasn't going to last much longer. I winced at the pain and reached an arm up to Sam, touching his cheek. Sam shook his head violently, not wanting me to use energy to speak. I grimaced at the pain, but Sam continued to cry. But my heart whimpered at the sight of his tears falling down his cheeks.
Please, no. I love you. Please stay with me. No.
Sam, I love you. I wanted to wake up, but I didn't have the strength to fight this illusion. I became lost in the pain that was pinning my body down and draining me of life.
I can't lose you! Please! Please. I love you.
My chest wouldn't allow me to breathe in anymore. All I could do was exhale my last breath and close my eyes. At his scream, I finally awoke, sitting up in bed and finally being able to fully breathe again. And I panted, feeling the need for fresh air to circulate through my lungs and chest. I ran my hand over my chest, feeling no marks and knowing that I was indeed alive and awake. But what of Sam? I looked at the side to see him still sound asleep, lost in his dreams, which seemed to be peaceful just from the look on his face. I let out a quiet sigh, closing my eyes and looking into the ceiling. It was just a dream, nothing more. It was merely a nightmare. I experienced them all the time. The more I thought of it, the more I could sense the fantasy of it. I was okay. We were okay. I ran a hand through my hair before lying back down, knowing that I would find solace in Sam's arms as if by instinct. Sam wrapped both of his strong arms around my form and I could cuddle against his chest. We were fine. We were going to be fine. At last, the wedding day arrived. We had prepared all that we could and everything was in order. Sam wanted to follow human tradition and not to see the bride before the wedding, headed to the venue to change into his tux. I, however, was alone. I didn't ask Naomi or Suzu to help, and I honestly didn't want them to. I needed to be alone before my wedding, so I got dressed and made myself into the perfect bride on my own, in my own mansion. I stared at myself, seeing exactly what I wanted to see in the reflection. I looked exactly how I wanted to look on my wedding day. I smiled, unable to shake the feeling of happiness from my body. I'm getting married. I let out a small sigh as relief washed over my nervous mind. Everything was going to be fine. As I heard a car honking outside, I felt nervousness creep in once again. I shook my head. I needed to relax. I grabbed the things I needed and rushed out, entering a white limousine. It was set to bring me the venue, but I stopped the driver before he began to drive off. Can we stop somewhere first? The driver agreed, and I guided him towards the cemetery my grandfather was buried at. It had been 2 years since he passed away. My personal visits to his grave has become fewer as time went on, but I had never stopped going. Today, though, was an incredibly happy day. I was so full of emotion I couldn't help but visit his gravestone. After all, I was about to marry a demon. I was about to marry the man of my dreams, and I wanted to stop there before going to the wedding venue to talk to my grandfather. I'm pretty sure I looked odd in that cemetery, wearing a wedding dress. However, I really didn't mind. I needed to come regardless. I stood by the grave, staring down at him with a smile. I'm getting married today, Grandpa. The wind gently danced around me as if my grandfather ushered it to reply. My smile grew brighter and I let out a sigh. I couldn't lie. I wanted my grandfather to be at my wedding, but I couldn't go back in time, even if I was able to. How could I have stopped him from dying? I shook my head. I didn't want to think of that, not on the day of my wedding. I hope you'll be there in spirit, Grandpa. I'm sure you'll... Before I could continue my sentence, the sky suddenly became dark, causing me to look up. Rain began to fall and patter against the stone and grass as a haunting bell began to chime. What boggled my mind was the fact that the rain was avoiding my body. It was like I was in safe circle underneath an invisible umbrella, so the rain couldn't soak me or my dress. What the? Was this grandfather's doing? Why was it raining all of a sudden? The rain became heavy, and I didn't even dare move from my spot. Afraid of what would happen, I looked at his grave, confused and concerned. My eyes looked onto a gravestone. onto engraved stone. This wasn't a natural storm. Magic was at work here. My heart gave a quick squeeze in reply to my conclusion, but the word magic reverberated in my mind. Magic. I looked down and lifted my hands to scan over my gloved palms. My fingers began to tingle, almost as if that single word had unlocked something. Magic. I gently pinched the edge of the glove on my hand with two fingers and slid it off, revealing my bare skin. Nothing had changed, but I could feel that something was different. I could faintly feel energized zipping through the nerves under my skin, dancing in excitement at the word magic. I wonder. I knew Diana had taken away my energy and my magic before she left, but what if I still had some left? I raised my hand to the sky and focused on the back of my hand. I didn't know what I was doing, but I had to see something. My mind quickly formed a word in my mind. I didn't know where it came from, but I let it fly from my lips as a soft whisper. Decino. As soon as the sound of that word rose into the air, the rain around me suddenly froze as if time had stopped. The wind was still slightly blowing, but the rain had stopped. I slowly lowered my hand and looked around. Did I really do this? Before I could move again, the raindrops and the stormy clouds above began to fade away, returning to the sunny weather it had before. I looked around and noticed that the grass and gravestones were all dry, as if the rain hadn't even fallen in the first place. That was...
I knew it! I knew it! That girl has demon magic!
What the...
Then quit talking and let's take her! The Demon Lord will be so pleased.
Who? Before I could turn to search for the voices, I felt hands grab hold on my feet, and I looked down and lifted my dress. Two pairs of evil-looking hands had taken hold of my ankles, reaching through a dark red and purple pentagram. I shrieked, trying to pull my legs away, but couldn't stop them as they swiftly pulled me into the ground. I was pulled deeper into the darkness. I was no longer in my room. I was being dragged through a dark void, one that I couldn't escape. I reached out and clawed at the dark, trying to find something to grab onto. I tried to pull my legs away from the hands that were holding them, but couldn't free them, or pull free. What was going on? Why was this happening? Someone help. As if someone had heard my screams, I suddenly felt the hands let go and disappear, leaving me to float in the darkness. They left me in. I shut my eyes. Please let this be a dream. Please let this be a dream. I finally felt a surface under my feet, and I collapsed onto it, my body curling in on itself from experience I had. I didn't dare tear my eyes away from my lap. Not ready to get up just yet. The voice I heard, however, made my heart stop.
You! What are you doing here?
I looked up, finally having the courage to take in my surroundings. My heart stopped beating for a moment, seizing in my chest. I like that cute bunny person right there, and actually I just like all their designs. I looked up to see 5 figures, strangers, monsters, being that I didn't recognize. They all looked down at me in surprise, as if I had dropped in at a very bad time. One man looked like an orc from a fantasy game without the tusks. He had broken horns and a very frightening aura around him as he stared at me. The other male was lanky in comparison, more human-like, but I almost feel power emanating from him regardless. One of the women was staring at me, had rabbit ears. Rabbit ears. They twitched on top of her head as she looked at me and gripped her staff. She seemed harmless, yet she had animal ears. The one creature that I couldn't discern the sex of seemed excited to see me. That surprised. What freaked me out about them was they had wings sticking out from their back, and they were floating. Oh yeah, they do look kind of non-binary. I couldn't even tell. The last woman, however, set off alarm bells in my head as I looked at her surprised face, her hair, her eyes. Diana? As she stared, the woman turned her body towards me in recognition to the name I called her. It was her.
What are you doing here?
Diana walked towards me and stared down at me. It was odd. She didn't even look like a human. Yeah, I wasn't afraid of her demon form as it towered over me. I was more in shock as to what I was going on. Before Diana could speak further, most likely to repeat herself, a figure quickly stepped up and bowed to her, kneeling beside me.
My lady, please forgive me. I felt something moving between our worlds and assumed the Demon Lord was to blame, so I intercepted his summoning of this human.
You? So I wasn't the only one who felt the change in the air.
Diana stared at the man kneeling beside me as I kept my eyes up at her. As she turned her gaze back to me, I gulped silently. What was she going to do with me? This all felt wrong. I was about to be married. I was about to live happily ever after with the man I loved. Now I was in a place I didn't know with Diana and a bunch of other creatures I didn't recognize. My instinct was to... Why the hell would I attack these people? I'm not stupid. Cry. I would either be cry or stay still. Actually, cry at best. This wasn't happening. This couldn't have been happening. No way. I felt tears build up in my eyes. I lowered them to look at the floor in front of me. As my gaze fell, my lungs began to seize hard, forcing me to hiccup in sadness. I couldn't help it. I began to cry profusely. Why was this happening? Why was I here? If this was another nightmare, I wanted to wake up immediately. This wasn't right. I covered my face and cried into my hands, curling over myself as I let sadness run through my entire body. Please let me wake up, please. As I felt warmth suddenly spread through my body, I slowly stopped and felt fresh air rush into my lungs. What was happening? I recognized this warmth. I looked up to see Diana kneeling down with a very concerned look on her face, her visible eye glowing a warm gold color as she stared at me. Was she enthralling me? I didn't feel aroused like I felt usually whenever I was enthralled, but I felt calm and almost mellow.
Calm down.
Diana's voice seemed almost soothing, like a lullaby. However, that's literally the name I gave to Jesus. However, I wasn't sleepy. I just felt quiet. The worry I had in my mind was gone. The sadness gone. Diana must have done something to make sure I wouldn't cry. I didn't know whether to thank her or be afraid.
Now, can you tell me what happened? Take your time and try to remember everything.
Succubus, we have no time for...
Shh! Let her do her thing! The human obviously knows her. And she obviously needs help. Poor thing.
Why did she call her Diana, though?
That must have been the human name she used while she was in the human world. Smart.
All of you, please!
Silence engulfed the room as Diana looked at the four beings behind her. She then turned back to me and held out her hand, ushering me to take it.
Can you stand?
I nodded and took her hand, standing up at last. I looked around at the other beings in the room. They all kept their gaze to me, unsure of what I would do or say. Diana, however, led the conversation.
First, can you tell me what happened to you?
I took a breath, recounting everything that happened. I was about to go to the church to be married, and then I was attacked by this darkness. A couple of hands grabbed my legs and pulled me into it, and then I fell here.
A shadow summoning?
Dan turned to one of the beings, the lanky male, and glared.
One of yours couldn't have.
On my honor, it wasn't any of mine. We have nothing to gain from kidnapping a human, nor do we know who this woman is, anyhow.
My lady, if I may, I clearly remember hearing imp demons in the void along with her. It must have been the Demon Lord's henchmen.
Those damnable creatures. That explains it.
Diana crossed her arms and looked to me again.
Well, dear, it seems that you were to be either a new harem girl for the Demon Lord to ravish, or bait for the boys to return to their father's side. Either way, I doubt you would have lived long had the Demon Lord gotten his hands on you.
A violent shiver ran up my spine. Was it true? I would have died?
Wait a minute. This girl knows about the Demon Lord's heirs?
Yes. Hilariously enough, she was set to marry one of them, as you can see from her garb.
As Diana motioned towards my dress, I realized how vulnerable I was and felt extremely self-conscious. I wrapped my arms around myself as Diana let out a sigh.
Well, since you do not belong here, the obvious thing to do is to send you home.
I couldn't help but stare wide-eyed at Diana. She was really going to send me home? Really? I couldn't believe my ears. You will really send me back?
Of course. It should be easy to do once everything is in order. It'll be like you never left the human world.
Wait, like I never left the human world? What do you mean, left the human world? Diana stared before chuckling softly and gesturing the room and beings within it.
Dear, do you not realize where you are? You are in the demon world.
My mind went blank. It couldn't be. I couldn't be in the demon world. No way. No way in hell. I felt myself back up against the wall behind me, suddenly afraid I was in another world, but that was impossible. Diana stepped towards me, both of her hands softly trying to show she meant no harm as she positioned them in front of her body.
Do not panic. We will send you back now, so there's nothing to worry about.
How will you power the spell? Bringing someone here is no easy task, but sending someone back consumes much more energy.
I'll use what energy I have now and rest. We can organize the siege another time when I fully recover. It's not like the Demon Lord can escape the corner we've trapped him in, so we do have some time to spare.
You'd waste time and energy on this human. We must strike now while the Demon Lord is weakened.
But the human doesn't belong here. She needs to go home.
Shall I prepare the return spell?
Do. I grant you permission to use my energy to power the spell.
With a nod, the lanky man held out his hand towards the wall. I looked over in the direction it was aimed at. Diana's shadow. I watched as Diana's shadow simply stood against the wall, mirroring the movements of the real succubus in the room. Before my eyes, the shadow began to morph and expand on the wall on its own. Looked back to Diana to see her wrapping her arms around herself and curling her shoulders over as if she was in pain. Her nails embedded themselves into her forearms, and I could barely make out a painful hiss escaping her clenched teeth. Was the spell hurting her that badly? I turned back to the wall to see Diana's shadow making a vibrating and as if it was resisting the change the man was forcing.
You will
on
obey
it.
my command. Open the gates to the void, and allow passage to the world we seek.
Transitum perennan peto tranibris, ubi aperiut, ianoium, desidero.
Upon Diana's final word, her shadow burst and expanded into an oval-shaped doorway. I stared wide-eyed at the passage before a hand placed itself on my shoulder, forcing me to look over. The one with the spear gently pressed my shoulder forward and looked down at me with almost a stern face.
You must leave now. The faster you leave, the quicker we can close the void.
Go! Go! Go get married!
I quickly nodded and lifted the bottom of my dress, stepping forward to make a run for the passageway. However, before I could bolt towards my freedom, a snarl echoed through the room.
How dare you interfere with my summoning!
At that very moment, Diana began to scream, arching her spine and throwing her head back. Around her body were red tinted bolts of lightning flashing and shocking her form.
No! Human! Use the passage! Now!
He didn't have to tell me twice. I bolted towards the portal, diving forward as I neared it. But I was forced back by bursts of energy and a flash of red light. I fell to the floor, almost slamming my head onto the stone.
The human will never, ever leave this world alive!
You spineless worm!
Close the portal! The Demon Lord might get through!
But the human...
Close it!
As commanded, the man pulled his hand back, visually forcing his arm back behind his body, and Diana's shadow quickly began to morph back into a simple shadow. The electricity around Diana faded away and she began to tip forward. The man with the spear dropped his weapon and caught Diana in his arms, cradling her to his body as she panted and gasped for air.
I don't sense the Demon Lord anywhere.
The worm has to scurry through the shadows to try and fight back. He'll be dead soon enough.
How is she, guard?
Diana seemed to be looked uninjured, but her body was twitching from the aftermath of the magical attack. Her visible eye was shut tight as she dug her fingers into the guard's jackets to cling to him. As her eye opened, I saw not a blood ruby red color, but I saw a cold and unfriendly golden color painted over her iris. Her mouth opened as she panted for air, and I could see hunger in her facial expression, but she continued to stare at the wall, not wanting to make eye contact with anyone.
There are no physical wounds, but she's been weakened. I must give her my energy so she can recover.
The man swiftly moved and hooked an arm underneath Diana's knees, lifting her up bridal style as she clung to his jacket, shivering. The spear that had fallen to the floor faded into black and purple mist as he quickly left the room with her in his arms. My mind, however, began to panic. I couldn't go home. Why was I being forced to stay? Damn the Demon Lord. This wasn't right.
There's an imp in the castle. That is the only way the Demon Lord could have been able to interfere.
You! Guards by the door! Hunt it down!
A pair of guards that were apparently by the door saluted the one commanding them all and ran off. I fell out of place alone, terrified as to what was going to happen. The demon lord wanted me here, and his words pounded at my mind. How was I going to be home? Would I ever be able to go home?
Hey.
Looked up to see the winged person hovering near me before they moved and sat on their knees on the stone ground beside me.
We'll get you home, okay? Diana just needs a little rest, okay?
She needs more than rest. She needs to use a different spell to send her back. The Demon Lord will expect her to use the shadow spell again.
How about the normal way? I'm sure we can connect to a witch, or even the warlock she used before, to reopen a portal to the human world.
The warlock she used to get to the human world died, remember? And he was the most powerful warlock in the human world, practically a god himself. What other human could be used to open a portal without another human dying?
It was merely a suggestion. The faster we get this human home, the faster we can move on and finish off the Demon Lord.
Well, what are we going to do with a human now?
We can give her a room to rest in. Humans need sleep after all. Maybe by the time she wakes up, we'll think of a solution.
Come.
The woman with rabbit ears looked down at me and lowered her hand to me, inviting me to take it. She had a kind but concerned expression on her face, so I trusted her. I slowly took her hand and began to stand up as the fairy figure brushed off the small patches of dust that accumulated on her dress, or on my dress. I couldn't do anything. I was forced to listen to the beings around me because there was nothing else I could do. Without them, I couldn't be home. My heart ached, but I had to accept my predicament.
Here, I'll bring you to the open ambassador's room. You are free to rest there for now.
But Diana, the floating person, giggled softly as the woman with rabbit ears cleared her throat.
She'll be fine. She's being taken care of right now.
Why not just say she's getting fucked?
And the brute strikes again with the lack of tasteful filtering between his brain and his mouth. You still have yet to prove me wrong about my expectations of you.
Keep testing me, assassin. I'm not afraid to rip your spine out of your body and use it as a back scratcher.
You can very well try, brute.
Ugh! Would you both knock it off?
Come, everything will be taken care of.
Before I could protest, the woman led me out of the room and into the hall. I kept my eyes down, trying to take in more of the situation I was in. I was trapped in the demon world, and Diana was out of commission. The demon lord had plans for me, but what exactly was he aiming for? I could have been bait. I could have been revenge. I didn't know, nor could I figure it out now. At least I was safe. At least I hoped I was safe. I'm going to end it there. Okay, cause my phone's about to die. It's about 11 p.m. Everyone's basically going to bed. I'm on the brink of going to bed. So if you guys did enjoy this live stream, please leave a like, please subscribe, hit the notification bell to get notified whenever I go live after video. And I will do another Seduce Me 2 live stream next weekend. But anyways, I hope to see you all in the future. Bye!